Hey, Tim Unkert here, and in this video we're going to create a worksheet of 100 problems where you have to find the limits by factoring. Stay tuned. Hey, so the problems that I'm talking about are problems where you have some function, let's say x squared plus 6x plus 8 over, let's say, something like x plus 2. And let's say you want to find the limit of this function as x approaches -2. Now you might be worried and think that, we're going to divide by 0. But in actuality, what you would do is you would factor this out as x plus 2 times x plus 4 over x plus 2 and we'd cancel these out, and you'd actually plug in -2 right here. And so your solution would be just 2, all right? So it's not going to be, you're not going to have a situation where you're dividing by 0. Now, the worksheet we're going to create today is not all going to have problems where you could have 0 in the denominator. In fact, a lot won't. It's just going to be randomized. But it still could be simplified by factoring. You could obviously, if, let's say we put in 3 here, we'd have a denominator of 5, and we could also plug it in on top, and we could still get the limit, and that would be just a limit directly by substitution. I may do a worksheet on that as well, but I thought this one would be kind of fun. Practice a little factoring, a little bit of coding. The coding involved is going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm doing this in Atom because I was recording with VS Code yesterday and it seemed really slow, and I'm like, is Atom faster? So I tweeted, is Atom faster than VS Code now? And the results are unanimous. Atom is faster. Now you might be saying, Tim, your sample size is a bit small. Regardless, results are unanimous. Atom is now faster. Okay, anyway, stay tuned for the video. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's get started. Let's add a folder. I'm going to go to JavaScript, and then we're going to create a folder. Let's call it limits by factoring -yt. We'll create that, and I'm just going to sneak down here and click OK. That's going to be our folder we're going to use. I'm going to create 2 files. One is an index.html. The other is a script.js. And I'm going to now do a little framework here with Emmet. So I do have the Emmet plugin installed. I do know that Atom does kind of have some Emmet support, but there's going to be something I want to do where I create this worksheet really fast, and we're going to need the more in-depth Emmet. I'm just going to go here right now, and let's increase our default font size so you can see it a little bit better. It's not the one we needed to switch. Change both of these. Okay, there we go. That should be a little bit more visible on camera. I'm going to also, let's toggle the menu bar. We can just do that with the Alt key. You can toggle it back and forth. And let's get this to be a full screen. So now you can see this all nice and big. All right, cool. Now let's create a container. And then within the container, I'm going to create 100 divs. And within those divs, I'm going to have a heading 3 and a paragraph. The heading 3 is going to be for the problem number, and the paragraph is going to be for the actual problem. All right, so to do that with Emmet, I'm just going to type container, and then within the container, I'm going to have a div, and within that div, I'm going to have a heading 3 plus a paragraph. We're going to do that 100 times. And okay, there we go. So I hit tab, and we've created 100 little problems that we can have. Now, I want the solutions to be at the end of this list. So I'm going to scroll on down this file. And right before this last div closes the container, I still want this in the container. I'm going to have an ordered list with 100 list items. Got to write list items, star 100, hit tab. Okay, so now I've got that. So I've got that. So let's scroll on down. We've got 100 of those. And right below the body closing tag, I'm just going to say script source. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. I'm going to do script, hit tab. It's not what I wanted. All right, let me try this one more time. Script, tab. Let's add our source, and it's going to be script.js. Okay, and we're good to go for that. All right, so now I'm going to go to my script.js, and I'm going to start creating the problems. So typically I'd have a for loop. I'm going to have 100 problems. So I'm going to let I equal 0. I is going to be less than 100, and we're going to increment I by 1 each time up through the loop. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to call some functions to create some variables. But first, let's identify the things we have. So we have the heading 3, we have the paragraph, and we have the list item. The heading 3 is going to be for the problem number. The paragraph is going to be for the actual problem, and the list item is going to be for the solution. So we're going to have 3 variables we need to create. So we're going to create const problem heading. I'm going to do that in camel case, and I'll say document.query selector all, and we'll have the heading 3 at index I, and then we're going to have const problem paragraph, and that's going to be document.query selector all at for the paragraph at index I. And we're also going to have the problem solution, and that's going to be document.query selector all for the list item, and that's going to be at index I. Okay, we're going to save that. I'm going to create a function to create some random problems up here. So I'm going to say function, and let's call it, whoops, sorry about that. Let's call it random number generator. And we're not going to pass anything into the function, but we're going to say random number is going to equal, we're going to use math.floor to round down the number. And then math.random, which is going to give me a number between 0 and 1. That's a decimal. We're going to multiply that by 10 to get basically a number from 0 to 9, and then we're going to add 1. That's going to give me a number from 0 to 10. But I was thinking about this. I also want potentially negative numbers to come out of this. So I'm going to also create another random number here. And this number is going to tell me whether it's negative or positive. So let's call it sign chooser. And that's going to be math.floor. And we're going to do math.random times 2. So that's going to give me basically a number either 0 or 1. And we'll say if sign chooser, if that, and we got to put this in parentheses here. So if that equals, and we're using the triple equals, if that equals 0, we're going to say that random number equals random number times -1. Okay, And then at the end of this, we're going to return the random number. Okay, so if it's 1, it'll stay positive. If it's 0, it will be negative. Okay. We're also going to say that we're going to have, for limits by factoring, we're going to have 2 constants. So if we have on the top of our limits in the numerator, our limits by factoring problem, if it has, say, something like x squared plus 6x plus 8, that would be x plus 2 times x plus 4. So 2 and 4 would be the constants we need to create. So we would have to have constant 1, and that's going to be random number generator. We're going to get that function, and then we're going to have constant, we'll say 2. That's also going to be, we're going to use the random number generator, okay? And we're also going to have the x value that we pass into the limit. So we're going to have const x value, and that's going to be our random number generator function again. We're going to call that again, okay? So we're making use of that function, okay? So we're also going to want to know what our solution is. So we're going to say, well, we're going to go up and we're going to make a function. So we're going to say function, and we'll call it find solution. And we're going to pass in constant 1 and constant 2, okay? And what we're going to do now is, well, we can't just find the solution because we need to have the middle value. So when we take our example, x squared plus 6x plus 8, we have to have that middle coefficient 6, and we also have to have that last constant 8. So let's call this, actually, let's rename it. Let's call it find coefficient. And to find the middle coefficient, which is what we're trying to find, we'll say const, actually, let's say const middle coefficient. Middle coefficient. That's going to equal basically constant 1 plus constant 2, because x squared plus 6x plus 8, in that example, we had x plus 2 times x plus 4, right? We add those two to get the middle number and multiply them to get the last number. So I'm going to say constant 1 plus constant 2, okay? And then we're going to return the middle coefficient, okay? All right, so we've got that. We find the coefficient, and we're also going to need to find the last constant. So we're going to have find constant. We're also going to pass in constant 1 and constant 2, okay? All right, so we're going to say const, and we'll call this the last constant, really is what it is. That's going to be constant 1 times constant 2, okay? And then we'll return the last constant, okay? All right, so now if we go down here, we're going to say that our middle coefficient, we need that. So we're going to say that const middle, let's just call it coef, that's going to equal the find coefficient function. And when we pass in constant 1, excuse me, constant 1, and let me move this up here, and constant 2, okay? And then we're also going to have the last const. It's going to be, we're going to have the find constant function when we pass in constant 1 and constant 2, okay? Now we're going to write out the problem. So we first want to write out the problem number. So we're going to say problem heading dot inner HTML. That's going to equal we're going to use a template literal. So we're going to say problem and then $, and then I plus 1, because we don't want to start at problem 0. We want to start at problem 1 and go up to 100 versus 0 to 99. Okay, and then I'm going to say problem paragraph, and the inner HTML of that is going to equal, well, we're going to start here, and we're probably going to use a couple different lines here. You'll see that Adam gives us this little line guide here. So we're going to say, let's say problem, no, let's say, what is the limit of f of x equals, and then we'll go down to the next line here, and we'll say problem paragraph dot inner HTML plus equals, because we're appending now. So we're going to have the top part of the fraction. I'm just going to use parentheses for that. So I'm going to say x, and we'll square it. So we're writing to HTML, x squared plus, then $, we're going to have middle coef x plus, then want to keep this under 80 lines. So let's just go down here to problem paragraph dot inner HTML plus equals. We're going to then pass in the last constant. Okay, and actually that's yeah, we're not having the solution just yet because we want to find the limit. So this isn't even the limit, the solution yet. So I got ahead of myself. Okay, and then we're going to have, let's use divided. So I'm going to use the divided symbol, divided by, and then in parentheses x plus, let's do the first constant. So, or constant 1. Okay, and so that's going to be our problem. We'll put a question mark at the end there. And then we're going to need our solution. So I had gotten ahead of myself. So the solution, okay, is going to be basically the x value plus constant 2, because constant 1 on the top and the bottom will factor out because I put it in the denominator. Okay, so we're going to have a function. Let's just now have a function find solution, and we're going to pass in constant 2 and the x value. Okay, and we're going to say that the solution is going to equal the x value plus constant 2. Okay, and we're going to return the solution. Okay, and so down here we'll say const our answer is going to equal the find solution function with constant 2 and the x value passed into it. Okay, and we're going to go down here and we're going to say that now problem solution dot inner HTML is going to equal, we'll use template literal again, we'll say solution and then a colon and then pass in our answer. Okay, and that's going to be that for that file. Let's open this and see how we're doing. Okay. And so go to our Linux files, to documents, math worksheets, JavaScript. I have this really nested in here, limits by factoring for YouTube, and we'll open it. And we've got our problems. Okay. So we probably need a space here, so we can format that. And do we have our solutions? Everything working with our solutions. So we go down, we have our solutions. Okay, and some solutions are negative, some solutions are positive. Cool. All right, let's work on some formatting here. So we got to have a space. Let me see what's going on with that. So in the oh, I have it outside of the parentheses. That's why it looks weird. Okay. All right. So what I would do here is take this parentheses here and just put it here. and then save it. And now let's see if that looks a little bit better. Let's refresh. That definitely looks a lot better. And you see the problems regenerated with different types of problems. Okay, so now to get this worksheet to work and it to print like a nice PDF, we've got to do some styling, but I'm not going to do it on a separate style sheet because the print style sheet will override that. So I'm going to do it at the top of the HTML document. So we're going to go back here, go up here. Let's name this limits by factoring. Okay, and then let's start with our style. And let's say our body, actually, let's say everything. We're going to have the box sizing equal to border box. Okay, then I'm going to have the div have a width of 33% with a padding of 10 pixels, let's say. And now let's make this 50%. Let's do two problems side by side. Okay, now with our container, and I'm putting the container after because I want these styles to come after, I'm going to have the width, I'm going to calculate that width to be 100% minus 1.5 inches. I'm using inches just because I want to have the margins be 3/4 of an inch for a document. All right, so I'm going to say that the margin left is 0.75 inches and the margin right is 0.75 inches. And I'm going to save it. Let's refresh and see where we're at with it. Okay. All right, these are not going all the way across because we didn't, why is that not happening? Because we don't have a display of inline block rather. Okay, and now let's go over here and refresh, and still not working. Okay, percent box settings and border box, that should be working. I'm going to pause the video for a moment and just check why this isn't working the way I expect it to, and I'll come back. Okay, I'm back, and it now is, working okay. What I basically did, I took this down to 49%, and it worked. I also moved rooms because, yeah. Anyway, so... All right, so we got our solutions down here. Let's check. The first solution is 7. Let's take a look. So we have x squared plus negative 8x plus 15 divided by x plus negative 5. So let's see. So we have 7, or let me check. We have positive 7 here. Positive 7. Okay, so yeah, so it would have to be negative 3, right, to get the negative 8. Negative 3 times negative 5 is 15. So we're going to have x plus negative 3. One thing I forgot is we got to put when x approaches some value. So otherwise, it's not going to be really that great of a problem or easy for someone to figure out. So let's continue and add that on to the problem paragraph. We'll just have a space here, and we'll say problem paragraph dot inner HTML, and we'll do plus equals, and then when x approaches, and then we'll have the x value. Okay, and we'll put now question mark after that. Hit Control S to save. Let's go up here and refresh. Okay, so now we've got these problems. So what is the limit of x squared plus negative 8x plus 12 divided by x minus x plus a negative 2? So it'd have to be negative 6 here. So I would multiply negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. And if we add them, we get negative 8. So we'd have to have negative 9 plus negative 6. So that'd be negative 15. Let's check our solution. We got negative 15. So the logic's all good. Now let's say I wanted to put a name and a date at the top of this, and I use paragraphs. So I'm going to show you what would happen there. And so let's just put another paragraph, and we'll say name. And then we'll have another paragraph here and say date. And something's going to happen. I'll show you what. We're going to save it, and then we'll refresh. And we don't get that, right? Because the JavaScript is just targeting the first 100 paragraphs. So to fix that, we just have to add 2. Okay. And then we'll go here, and we'll refresh. And now we've got our name and our date. And all the problems there. Maybe we want to bring a Google font in here. So let's go to Google Fonts. Okay. And we'll bring in a Google font. When this page loads, it's loading a little slow. But let's say I want to use something like Open Sans. M+1. That's an interesting one. Okay, let's use Open Sans here. And let's just pick the regular and the bold. Oh, wait, no, I want to add these. I guess I had already added them. So, okay, so we're going to, and then import these. Okay, so we'll import these. Right into the HTML, right at the top. We'll just do Control V, paste the import there, toggle my menu. I want to view soft wrap there. Okay. And so that'll wrap it around. We'll hit Control S to save. Now I want to have the font family for the body be this here. So I'm going to paste that. And I'm going to go here, and we'll say body, and we'll paste the font family in. Hit Control S to save, and we'll refresh. And we see we've got that different font now. Okay, so we've got our factoring problem. Maybe we put an H2 at the top and say something like, right above here, let's do an H2, and we'll call this limits by factoring, and hit Control S to save, and then we'll refresh, go to the top, and we have our limits by factoring. So this is our worksheet. Let's print it. All right, so we're going to go to print and save as PDF. Okay. And we notice we have all these problems. Okay, some of them wrap a little weird, but hey, you know, I'm going to put this up on Teacher Pay Teachers for $1. So yeah. Anyway, so I would just save this, maybe in my downloads, limits by factoring, PDF. I'm going to click save, and then I can upload it to Teacher Pay Teachers, and the worksheet is ready to go. You're going to have 100 limits by factoring problem with both negative and positive numbers thrown in there. So students you can drill these students on these problems just by creating a simple program that really didn't take much time. With all the explanation and everything, it took a little bit longer, but probably I would do this in 15 minutes at most. All right, so learn to code. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. It really does help the channel grow. You can also follow me on GitHub. I'll leave a link in the description below. And then finally, I'm going to put this worksheet up on Teacher Pay Teachers, so you can support my work there if you so choose. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one, and have a great day.